OLA stands for Oral Language Analysis, and it's a formative assessment that we use with our English language learners.
Right here I have a prompt, a question for us to talk about.
What the OLA does is it allows a teacher to take a measurement of where a student is at a certain moment in time, and also where they are in regards to the unit, to the actual content that they're learning.
How did westward expansion affect different groups of people? So see this word affect? That's a clue to your brain that we're going to do cause and effect.
The teacher asks the students the question, makes sure that they understand the prompt, maybe highlights the important words like describe and characteristics, and then writes down verbatim what each student says.
For this activity, you guys, you can pull it out of your head if you remember, but you feel free to use the charts. So who has an idea?
It's almost always recommended to incorporate a language function into the question, using language like describe the characteristics of, or compare and contrast this and that, depending on what the language function is of the unit.
About the trail of tears.
What do you want to say about it?
The effect was that people had to walk a lot, and some of them died.
Some of them died. What else?
And died on the trail.
I think there's sometimes a tendency for teachers to go straight to the written because it's right in front of them. And so we try and focus when we're having teachers plan designated English language development on oral language first, because if they have rich oral language, then that will eventually translate into their writing.
And then they can have more land. And then the Trail of Tears began.
Traditionally, when we talk about designated English language development, we like to say you're both preparing students for whole class lessons to come or responding to what you're noticing that they're doing. What the OLA does is it allows teachers to have a concrete piece of evidence that they can look at and see how they're getting towards the spoken English that we would like them to speak. But it allows us to then analyze a piece of text and think about how we can use the English language development standards to push them to the next level.
So remember, we started all the way over here and we worked our way over here. How did that affect different groups of people? And when you're ready to answer, you can stand over here and do it.
I think they want to affect, they want to travel around.
Can you say that one more time?
The most crucial step is the analysis of the OLA. The teachers will take the OLA back and work in grade level teams, sometimes with a coach. And the first step is to analyze what we call approximation.
So I took this today with a group of my kids you probably know pretty well.
We prefer the term approximation to the term error because approximation indicates that students are moving from one language to another and they're approximating standard English. And so we want to celebrate what they're bringing instead of looking at it as a deficit.
Westward expansion affected other people because of the Oregon Trail, caused people to get there to claim their free land.
Okay, well, he got like the cause and effect thing right there, right? Like he has that. Might not be used totally correctly, but at least he's trying it.
He's got some transition.
It sounds a lot like boxes and bullets, right? So if like from writers when can you imagine that? So like his first point would be box, jot.
That would be like a bullet.
The effect was that some of them died on the trail and cried because their family members died.
He uses the word effect, so he's definitely going back to the prompt, trying to explain his answer. He's trying to answer this, which is good.
Thing that jumps out at me that we all hear all the time is this one, the for they can, right? So she's like translating it in her head from like para and por, already going that way. It doesn't necessarily sound like she's trying to go back and answer the prompt as much or like using a structure as much as these two are.
If we were to pull them into a small group, are there any patterns that we see amongst all three of them?
Definitely with all three of them, try to bring back in like the sentence frames and have them use the cause and effect sentence frames.
The next step is actually to crack open the ELD standards and start looking through them and figure out, okay, how can we push our students to the next level? If they were going to write this in, sort of an ideal form, what would it look like? And now let's plan a series of lessons to push them towards that.
These are clearly not emerging students, but maybe if we look at expanding or bridging, we might find some things that would be helpful. Like, for example, combining clauses.
I was also looking at like the connecting ideas, which might be on the other page for you guys. But this is for expanding and for bridging. It says combine clauses in a wide variety of ways, creating compound and complex sentences to make connections between and join ideas, right? It seems like, especially with Edwin, that he needs that linking, he needs the support of combining those clauses and connecting their ideas. And
The teacher collaboration actually serves a number of purposes. One is simply they're able to sort of bounce ideas off each other, they're suggesting standards, they're working back and forth. Another thing that's really wonderful is that student teachers can then say, oh, I know that I have 2 kids in my class who are having that exact same issue. During our designated ELD time, why don't I send them to you and you can send me these other students, and that allows teachers to be very efficient.
I know that there are probably a couple students in my class too that could benefit from like those types of lessons.
And then the next step is to plan a series of designated ELD lessons that address whatever it is that you saw coming up in the OLA.
This like subject matter is so heavy anyway. Maybe we should kind of like back off of that and have them try just using the sentence frames with something they know first for day 1. We'll do sentence frames,
Stuff they
like
have in their
soccer
background knowledge,
or
right?
Fortnite or whatever it's gonna be.
The other thing that we were also thinking about, right, was using those cause and effect graphic organizers. So using that with something known.
I
Get
see
what I'm
what you're
saying?
saying. Okay.
Analyzing with your peers and getting their ideas about how do I address this, how do I address that, it's actually extremely empowering.
In your work today, you gave them more than one way, more than one cause and effect sentence frame to use. So to see that there's more than one way that they can say this.
Yeah, so we could show them the graphic organizer that has all the effects, and then these are the different ways of saying it, and those are different ones. Cool, I like it. So model it first, graphic org, and then show them the sentence frames for them to try it.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have day 1 graphic orgs with things that they know, just to make sure that they know how to use them correctly. Day 2 is using sentence frames with this, revisiting it, and then day
they did a lot of great
yeah,
things.
yeah, they did great things, and we want to definitely make sure they know that. And then day 3 would be going to show, like, look, if you take this out, it makes more sense. And then there's also these different ways of saying it in a more cohesive way.
Sounds like a good plan.
One of the difficulties with designated ELD is that it's hard to fit into the day. But once you get that small group, when you have 4 or 5 or 6 students sitting right in front of you and you're using a sentence frame and you're moving words around and you're having them say it, the change that you can hear in their ability to produce language is really pretty transformative.
And so we're using some sentence frames, and we actually said, I disagree with the principal's policy. When we actually create a graphic organizer like this, where we do some note taking, we don't necessarily write in complete sentences, do we? No. But is this the way that we talk?
No.
Do we do that? No. When we're having a conversation, we need to create a complete sentence. So here are some transition words. I made a chart, and I've broken the transition words into words that you can say anytime.
A lot of our long-term English learners tend to stay quiet because they've learned that if they don't speak up, nobody will notice the gaps in their language. They may be absorbing things, but they're not getting the practice of having them come out of their mouths. And so what the small group does is it gives them a safe and protected environment to practice.
Okay, so furthermore, go ahead and choose one.
Eat snacks.
Eat snacks? Okay, so go ahead. So use furthermore.
Furthermore, eat snacks.
So can we just say furthermore, eat snacks? Can you put that into a complete sentence?
Furthermore, you could eat snacks.
Or could we say you could eat snacks, or you could have time to eat snacks?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you say it first so you could have time.
Furthermore, you have time to eat snacks.
Can we say that together? Furthermore, you have time to eat your snacks.
The teacher knew that she was going to be doing note-taking with the students. She was going to do boxes and bullets, and she was also going to be doing a web. And so she wanted to prepare her English language learners for what was coming up in the class. But she also noticed when she did an OLA that they were having trouble with that conjunction, so that or in order to.
One thing that I was noticing in your talking, in your writing, is that you're using some things in English that may be possibly coming from Spanish. Do you know this word? Para or para qué? Translated into English? For. Okay. Normally in Spanish you would use para or para qué when you're giving a reason. I didn't really know this because I don't speak Spanish. I had to do some extra research. okay? And so when we say it in English, we don't actually say for.
She highlighted that in the OLA and she thought, okay, well, that's going to be really crucial if they're writing an opinion piece. So I want to address that piece of it extremely explicitly.
You know what this is called? This is called conjunctions. Can you say conjunctions?
Conjunction.
Okay, so again, instead of saying for or para que, we could also say so that. Let's read that sentence. Furthermore, we need more recess time so that play with friends. Wait, that doesn't sound right. What are we missing? So that we can play with friends.
A successful OLA means that a teacher has crafted a thoughtful prompt, has taken dictation from the students, has analyzed the product with her colleagues using her ELD standards, and then has designed a series of lessons that address what she sees in the OLA, and ultimately that students are exceeding expectations on their performance task.
We need more recess time, another reason. Nah, that doesn't sound good. So that we can
Play.
Okay. You need your transition word, yes.
furthermore, we need more recess time so that we can play